Yeah.
Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Pranati Reddy, sponsorship head of the current GDSC core team. Today, we are back with an exciting and interesting session, wherein which we are going to discuss about the roadmap to game development. This time, we have an expert speaker, Manav Lakhadive. Life as a mechanical engineer from Vellore Institute of Technology. At heart, he's a technologist who likes to explore various tech and build something out of it, and he's a game developer now. While he has worked as an XR developer, he has worked on several projects such as educational virtual experience made in Unity and Unreal Engine, WebXR experiences created using Unity, WebGL, and libraries like React to create a framework. He also regularly work on latest AR and VR. Today, Manav is here to empower us with his skills on game development. Thank you, Manas, for joining. So let's start.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. First of all, I want every one of you to tell me if I'm audible clearly. And I request, if possible, turn on the cameras because I'll get a better connect and I'll understand if you're really enjoying it or not so that I can shift gears. So, if it is possible for you guys, turn on the cameras, that would be good. Or else we can start. Praniti, can you tell me if we are audible very clearly?
Yeah, really, you're audible.
Okay. Okay, so let's start. So, what can you expect from next 40-50 minutes? I'll just walk you through that first. So, I'll be talking about two topics. First is three topics, in fact. First is how did I got here? How did I started my game development journey? And so that might inspire you or give you some hints of how to start and how to get started into game development. Then we will talk about game development itself, that how do you enter into this world, how do you, what technologies you learn, how you can start, what are different fields inside game development that you can probably try your hands on. And then we will talk about the future of this technology and where this is going. What is metaverse? I'm pretty sure you have probably heard of this word metaverse a lot nowadays, and I'll break it down what it is going to be and what technologies are going to affect. So even if you're not directly in game development, you might be affecting the metaverse. So let's get started. Just a second, let me check. Yeah. So we are going to talk about serious topics as well. And first, we will talk about the journey. Let me start with my journey. So I studied mechanical engineering in Vellore Institute of Technology. And you might be thinking that I studied mechanical engineering, but now I'm doing development. So there was this very specific thing that I did while I entered my engineering college. It's been probably 6 years now that I was in my first year, that I decided I'll not treat engineering as a subject wise study. For example, I'll not treat engineering as a mechanical engineer. I'll treat engineering as a problem solving study. That means that I study anything and everything that is interesting to me, and I'll try to figure out that can I solve some good challenging problems and can I learn something really well from that. Okay, so that was my in general approach in first year. And in first year, as many of you would know, I was clueless. Even you might be clueless at this point of time if you're in first year or second year early in your life, that what exactly path you should be taking on. And I was at the same state. I was not knowing what to do. Even though I was studying mechanical engineering and I was doing pretty decent at it, I had interest everywhere. So in first year, I discovered Arduino. There is something called as Arduino and Python language, and all of you might be aware of this because many kids in college use both of these technologies nowadays. In first year, I figured out that I really love building stuff, and while I was just able to light up a simple LED on Arduino board, that was very satisfactory for me because I was able to create something by writing few lines of code on the computer. And by the way, this was first time I was writing code in my life ever in first year of engineering. Most people nowadays they get a head start while they start writing code in their 11th standard or 12th standard, but I was writing code for first time in first year, and I really started enjoying these technologies. I got hands-on experience of embedded systems, doing electronics, writing code to create something, writing code to create simple applications out of this Arduino board, and experimenting with electronics. Then in second year, I got interested more and more into technologies. Even though I was mechanical engineer and I was studying mechanical engineering and I was going through all my syllabus and understanding what, and it is a very different field compared to what I was doing in my free time. I started more technologies such as learning neural networks, learning machine learning. And then you can say I was jack of all trades, master of none, but I would say I was still better than one. So I started exploring all of these technologies and trying to connect dots at how these technologies can work together. Most of the times it happens that if you know just one technology, you can come up with solutions in that particular segment itself. But if you know multiple technologies, you can connect dots from different technologies. For example, a doctor knowing machine learning might be able to implement some machine learning algorithm in his day-to-day practice to come up with better solutions. That is just how it is. So that was my approach, and you need not choose any one of them. You can be either, like, you can be going deep into one technology, or you can think of mastering multiple technologies, or at least knowing about multiple technologies. So that was my second year. In second year, along with learning more technologies, I got introduced to something called as hackathons. Now you might be very familiar with hackathons and participating in that. This was a very new concept for me back then, and I started participating in hackathons. And this was probably the best time of my engineering, because I was learning so much in this period of hackathons, the probably 36-48 hours where you have to hack something and build something. And that gave me confidence that even if I don't know anything, or even if I don't know something about a particular field, I can still figure out how and hack my way around to implement that. For example, the picture that you see here, we implemented an embedded system to create a wireless network for forest fire early forest fire detection. Now this, I'll not go into the details and specific, but I'm just talking about the mindset, that what I was thinking of at that time. And me being a mechanical engineer, this field was not even remotely close to what I was studying. But I just because out of curiosity and interest, I started learning this. And if we eventually won many hackathons, and we ended up winning the Smart India hackathon as well. And that gave me confidence that I can learn anything. I may not be able to learn everything, but I can learn anything that I decide to learn, and then I can implement as well to bring some solutions and do some cool stuff. That was my entire motivation. Now I understand the real world is very different from the hackathons and what you build in hackathons, but it was giving me confidence to build something. Then came the next year, where I started learning more technologies and got deep into blockchain, and started learning about how blockchain is working, what is Bitcoin, what is the technology behind that, or how Ethereum is working, and how all of these technologies can work together. Then in third year, I had decided I'll not sit for my placements. Now VIT has a good placement record, and all of my friends were sitting in really good placements, taking jobs at very big companies and getting very good packages. But my idea was that I wanted to try something different, maybe get my hands on running businesses. Me being a generalist, I was able to connect the dots better, and that's what I thought of using in my real life as well. So when I started learning about more about blockchain, machine learning, uh, embedded systems, electronics, and then trying to connect all of these technologies, I could see that the future is really bright. And I'll tell you how all of these technologies are connecting down the line in the presentation, and I'll give you a glimpse of metaverse as well. Then in fourth year, I got actually introduced to game development. And the first thing that I tried was Unreal Engine. You might have heard about Unreal Engine and Unity. We will go a little bit, we'll have an overview on both the engines as well. But I got introduced to Unreal Engine, and Unreal Engine was something which was a very sweet spot for me, because I was able to create something and then play it right away. Like if I'm creating something, if I'm creating a game mechanics, I can just test it out right away on my system. And that was very fulfilling for me, and that is very actually addicting in the game development as well. You can see what you're building. It's not like you're creating something and you will see the output way later in the process. You can immediately see what you're building, what you're like, can you can test it very fast. And that was really addictive to me. I got hooked onto this, and I decided I'll pursue this a little bit for longer time. And then I got hooked into game development, learning more about engines, learning more about the languages behind that, learning more about how to build AR experiences, VR experiences. And then I got started on that. Now, in while doing this, I realized that I should be doing something in this space, and there is a lot of opportunities in terms of AR, VR, and we'll talk about that. But I realized that there are so many opportunities here, and I should be probably exploring that. So after college, I decided I'll not take up a job. That was my first decision, and I'll pursue something in this. I'll probably freelance in this, or write program for other companies, work as a freelancer, so that I can get hands-on experience while doing this. Luckily, that didn't happen. I landed a job in a company where I could uh, actually work on XR. XR stands for augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. These fields are very closely related to game development. The technologies used in all three of these fields, basically it's just one field and divided into three subsegments, but the technology used there was exactly same, game engines. The gaming technology is directly transferable to AR VR, and I'll walk you through that as well. I'll give you the roadmap. But I landed up a job luckily, and for a mechanical person to land a job in a XR world, XR company which is building softwares, landing a job as a software developer and creating XR applications was very difficult, because with my degree not any company would accept me, right? Because I'm a mechanical engineer, I don't have a coding background, and how do I prove my point? So I proved my point creating many small projects. While I was learning everything, I started creating small projects everywhere, and I started sharing them on across my social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, even on WhatsApp. I started sharing, and through the contacts and connections, I got one job. And then I decided that okay, whatever my plan was, it can stay on sidelines for a while, and I should really take this opportunity, because only then I'll get hands-on experience of actually learning what is happening in the industry. Then I got a really good scope of what is happening in the industry, what people are building, what industries are looking for, and everything. Then uh, currently I have left my job and I'm running my company full time, which was the plan originally. Now we work specifically in XR space, creating AR VR applications for industries. We are not catering to consumers, mass market consumers, but we are catering to industries where we are creating training experiences for them in AR and VR, and we are using this new age technologies for industries to implement them and create innovative type of training which can reduce their cost, uh, add revenue to their top line, and increase profits as well, and reduce the time and efforts that goes in training of the employees. So that's about me, how I came up to here. And now I think we should, so that's about like what I'm doing right now. But now let's get to the deep topic and the important topic of this talk, that is how do you become a game developer, and what is the roadmap to become a game developer. So and I'll open the Q&A on the this as well. Okay, so now you can ask me questions and you can interrupt me anywhen. You can interrupt me while I'm talking and I will answer your questions as well. But let's finish this first. That how to become a game developer is not something very different from engineering. First, I want to talk about something that is very that is the way I think. That is, you have to first get an engineering mindset, and mindset across all engineering jobs. Take be it a mechanical engineer, a civil engineer, or a computer science engineer, or an electronics engineer, is same. You have to think as if you're solving problems, and every technology that you're using or everything that you're learning in your classrooms, when you go on actual jobs, you will be actually doing problem solving, be it a minor problem or be it a major problem, or implementing new product or implementing a new feature, or anywhere you are just trying to solve problems of the users and creating something for them, be it any engineering branch. So that you have to keep in mind that game development is very close to engineering. I would say probably very close to computer science engineering, but I'll also tell you that how it is close to a little bit of mechanical side as well. uh, it is comparatively closer to computer science, but game development itself is such a vast field that you can be a music producer as well and still work in game development industry. That is how vast the industry is. But keep one thing in mind, the mindset should always be engineering, that you are always here to solve problems. Then let's think about how do you get started. Say suppose you're a first year student, you're a second year student, or you're a third or fourth year, and you want to just get your hands dirty on trying something, building something. So how do you get started as a game developer? Now I'm specifically restricting it to game development, but I'll also walk you through that what different fields are there inside game development, which do not require programming at all, and you can still be working in a game dev field. So if you are someone who do not like coding, or who wants to try something other than coding, then still game development is for you. But the easiest and sure shot way to get started is to try out both of these engines. uh, Game engine is a particular software which allows you to create games specifically, and it gives you all the tools required for you to create a game. For example, it has inbuilt music system, it has inbuilt systems to uh, go render the graphics, it has inbuilt system to program for your game and everything. So Do you need to compulsorily use these engines? The answer is no. You can use any other language to create games as well, but the efforts to create games while you're using the language, bare language, would be so much compared to using engines directly. So Unity and Unreal, you can just Google it and try it for free. There are tons of tutorials out there where you can learn Unreal Engine and Unity. If you ask me which should you start with, pick any one of them or pick both of them and see if you can build something. And you don't have to build something very extensively, right? You don't have to go out and build a AAA game. You just have to build something. Say suppose you are able to make a character walk in your game. That's enough. That is enough for you. Yeah, so that is enough for you to understand that what is inside game development and how you can proceed ahead. That is one thing that gets started with Unity and Unreal Engine. Now various options, as you try your hands on game engines, right, you will notice one thing, that game engine itself is such a vast software that you cannot learn it, like learn entirety of it all on your own. And it is not possible for an individual person to develop an entire game. It is possible, obviously everything is possible, but it is very difficult for you to implement an entire game, because there are various things. For example, there is something called as a game designer working in a game development team, which will just make sure that the game is designed. And by design I mean they'll just draft out what happens when a particular player goes at a particular spot, picks up a particular gun and shoots someone, then what is the entire mechanics like. They'll just plan that. Then there's something called a systems designer. System designer has nothing to think about game. They have to think what should be the scalability of the system, how multiplayer system will work, how the character system will interact with the object system, and how all of these different things will work. Then there's something called as level designer. Level designing is built in both of these game engines, Unity and Unreal, which I previously talked about. And probably level designing is the easiest route for anyone to get started in game development, or getting hands of getting used to using these engines, right? Level designing is basically designing the entire map of your level. So suppose you are playing Call of Duty, then what is there at a particular place in that level, it has to be designed by a level designer. And it is not just placing the things, you have to think about the interactions as well, that if a particular player is going at a particular spot, then what objects are surrounding him, as well as you have to also think how he can interact with all those objects. What are, like, are those objects interactable or not? If they are interactable, then what a particular player can do with that object. Say suppose it's a gun lying around, then can is the player allowed to pick up that gun? All of this has to be designed by a level designer. And these are not fields which work in silos, they work together as a team. So a big team, say suppose you pick up very big title, say suppose you pick up GTA. And if you talk about GTA 5, which was released, the latest game GTA 6 is coming on. And if you say that I want to be a game designer in a company which is creating GTA, it is not possible for you to design the entire game. There will be a team of game designers designing the entire game. There will be a team of system designers who will be designing the entire system. There will be a team of level designers who will be designing the entire level. And you always have to work cross functionally with all of these teams. Say suppose you are a game designer and you are adding some game mechanics aspect to your game, but it is not implementable by game programmer, then what would a game programmer do? They'll have to come back to you, discuss that this cannot be implemented, something other has to be implemented, and there has to be discussion, there has to be solution. So the point being that all of these fields, even though they are different fields inside game development, all of them are interconnected, because ultimately you are making one game, right? Then let's talk about game programmer. Game programmer is someone who would hands-on write code to implement the game mechanics designed by a game designer along with level designer. Say suppose how the character will walk, how animations will be played, when animations has to be changed. If the character is sitting, the character has to use the sitting pose animation. If the character is standing, then it has to use the standing pose animation. When will those animations be shifted? How will gun works? How will the other stuff in the system work? Say suppose there is point collection system. If you hit someone, you are collecting some points. Then how will that work? Everything has to be coded and written by game programmer. So if you are a game designer, you need not know coding, you need not know how to write code, but you might require some other skills such as user experience designing, or UI designing, or game designing. Game designing is you can do specific certifications or courses along game designing itself. If you're a system designer, you need not know programming as well, but you need to have a good knowledge of cloud systems. You need to have a good knowledge of how multiplayer system works. If you are a level designer, you need not again know programming, but you need to have the knowledge of how assets are working, how to reduce the LODs of assets. LODs is like how high level the assets are, and you have to think all of this. So coming back to the next field, that is AI programmer. AI programmer will decide how artificial intelligence in your gaming systems will work. By that I mean, if there are enemies inside your game which has to run on their own because no player is controlling that, then it is an AI ultimately working against you as an enemy. So there are specific fields for AI programmer as well. Gameplay engineer will specifically work on gameplay. What is the user flow? What each character is doing. All of these fields might seem confusing as of now because you're not hands-on. You might not be working hands-on on developing games, but once you start getting used to of creating some small game in 2D or in 3D using Unreal or Unity engine, then you will get idea of what I'm talking about. So the first thing that you should be doing if you're interested in any of this thing is go download the engine on your laptops. It's free, and try creating something. Try designing a level. Try writing some code. And there are tons of YouTube tutorials that you can follow along, right? Then next few options in game designing, game development are: you can be a game artist. You can be just creating assets for the game. Say suppose how your character will look, or how the other assets. Say suppose how the gun will look, how other crates and everything, such as you have it in PUBG, uh, different various assets, how that will look, that has to be designed and developed by game artist. Then there are something called as character artists. Character artists just specifically focus on designing characters. All of these fields that I'm telling you, because I was told that people are not only from CS background on this call, people are from various backgrounds. That is why I'm telling you that you need not know programming or coding to get started with game development. You can be an artist, you can be someone using Blender or Maya, and you can get started with game designing and game development, and you can land a job as well, right? Then there's environment artists, asset artists, technical artists, QA testers, all of these fields. And you will get a hang of it, as I already said, once you start actually working on it, as in trying to create something. Okay, so what if you want to be a game developer, as in game programmer, then what you should be knowing if you're starting with Unreal Engine, what you should be knowing if you're starting with Unity, and in general programming knowledge, which is required by everyone. Now, I'm pretty sure you might have been taught one couple of programming languages in your uh, first year of engineering. You might have played with Python, you might have played with C++ or some other language. But if you want to get started in Unreal Engine, you will require C++ and you will require blueprints. What is blueprints? I'll explain it in a while. But let's talk about C++ first. Do you require a very in-depth knowledge of C++? I would say no. You will always learn while you are creating games. So if you are learning C++, then, and if you have basic knowledge of how to write functions, how to write loops, and how to write everything, then you can directly get started with Unreal Engine. You can start writing the code for code in C++ and create few small game mechanics in Unreal Engine. While you are stuck at somewhere, then again you have to go back to think that engineering is all about problem solving, and all the solutions related to programming are always there on Google or YouTube, and you can just Google that how to create so and so thing in Unreal Engine, and there are tons of solutions for that. What is blueprints? If you are not a programmer and you are scared of learning a new languages, and there are people, and it's fine, who might not want to learn a new language or a programming language and still want to play around and get started with making games, then you can learn something called as blueprints. Blueprints works only for Unreal Engine, and blueprints is a visual programming language. Ultimately, it's a programming language where you will have to use your logic, where you will have to use the basic concepts of your programming, but it makes it easier to implement because it is just visual programming. If you want, and if you have time at the end of this talk, I can show you the demo as well, or I'll show you the video. Okay, so that is blueprints. So remember these two words: blueprints for Unreal Engine. If you're scared of programming and if you don't want to get started right away, or if you just want to tinker around in Unreal Engine, get started with blueprints. It's very easy. Then coming to Unity, you will have to learn the language called as C sharp. C sharp is a very language closer to Java, I would say, and you would be able to learn it very easily. Again, you need not know in-depth basics or in-depth knowledge of any language to get started, but to develop deeper concepts in Unity or Unreal Engine, you will have to improve your knowledge while you are creating something. That is just for any other thing as well. Talking about few basic concepts that you should be knowing while you are getting started in game development journey, that is related to data structures and object oriented programming. Now, object oriented programming is a huge part of making games which are specifically bigger. So once you start making a game at a certain level, you will not require any of these concepts. No major concepts in data structures, no major concepts in object oriented programming. But as you start making the game bigger and bigger, and you start making it more complex, you will require concepts such as data structures and object oriented programming. So, and you need not get afraid of that, because as I told you, to get started with playing around with Unreal and Unity, you need not know any of this, you need not know programming at all, and you can still be a good contributor to any game. So keep that in mind. Now let's go to next thing. What is roadmap I would personally suggest to get started in, say, suppose game development or AR and VR? Now let me clarify one point first. Many people might be interested in working in AR and VR, and that is very cool. Uh, Most probably you might have heard about this AR and VR nowadays, because Metaverse is being discussed a lot, and you might have heard about Metaverse. You might have heard about VR headset, Oculus Quest, and headset strap on. How do you go about it from internet or somewhere? So the one thing that let me tell you is AR and VR is not a different field. It's just the way of implementing same technology in different use case. For example, you while creating AR and VR applications as well, you use the same technologies. You use Unreal Engine, you use Unity to create AR and VR experiences. Along with that, you might be requiring some devices which have AR and VR capabilities, just that. And the few fundamental difference would be in terms of user experience, because now you're not just playing a game, you are trying to interact with AR and VR in real life. I'll show you the AR and VR demos as well. And if we have time, I have Oculus Quest here, which I use regularly in my development flow. If we have time, and if we can have Q&A after that as well, I'll show you what it is around, if you have not seen this using somewhere. Okay, so that is about AR and VR. That's the first thing. The technology is the same, it's just the way of implementation is different. Still, game development is the technology. Okay, so let's talk about what roadmap I would suggest. First thing that I told you, download any of the engine that I've told mentioned about Unity and Unreal. Try making simple concepts, games, implement whatever there is in your mind, or follow random YouTube tutorials. I'll mention some good channels as well. You can directly start following that, and you will realize that it's very easy. And then you will realize at the same time it is very difficult, because beyond a certain extent you'll have to learn some concepts to implement major aspects of the game. And that is the process that you will have to follow. Learn something, you will get stuck at something, then go and figure it out on internet. Everything is available on internet. Join Discord communities, people are there to ready to help out. And once you do that, you will be able to understand more and more about it. Okay, and that is how everyone will be developing. Everyone will be getting as better as a game developer, right? And I'll tell you, even people who are 5 to 6 year experienced in this field, they do not know entirely about the game engine. There will always be aspects of Unity and Unreal and various aspects of game development which people are not aware of. Even 10 years experienced people are not aware of many concepts in Unreal or Unity. Because I'll tell you what happens when you start your journey, you're starting with this much knowledge, and then you choose fields while you're going down, and your everything starts narrowing down, and you start focusing on one particular aspect of the game development. For example, you start becoming a game developer. Initially you will be trying to write code for everything, but your job eventually will demand you to write code for specific aspects of game. And as you develop expertise in that, you will be valued for that. For example, you might be writing codes only to render the texture on the games, and that might be your entire job. And as you get deeper and deeper into it, you will realize that you might not know various aspects of the Unreal Engine or Unity, but you are just focusing on that and you are expert on that. That is how people progress in AR and VR field or game development field while they are developing it. Okay. Now, if you're not a developer and you want to explore something else but related to game development or AR and VR, you can go about asset creation. You can learn about UI UX and try to implement same stuff in Unity. For example, if you are learning about UI UX, how to create user interfaces and how to go about planning the user experience, then you can take that same knowledge and try to implement it in your game, or try to implement it in your VR experience or AR experience. That is what you can do, right? Same thing is with level design or music creation. You can try to think of how you can import your existing knowledge or knowledge from different fields to game development. The easiest thing, as I already told, is to get started with level design. Download engine and try creating a map, try creating a forest environment, or try creating a sci-fi environment, and see how what tools you like, or do you really like that, or what you can do with that. If you want to stick with level design or try to program something around that. That is how I got started. I got started with level designing, just creating random maps of levels that I would want to have, trying to create photorealistic experiences in the game engine. Then then next thing is, if you truly want to excel into getting your hands deep into game development, AR and VR, then you should start applying for internships. If you are in third year, fourth year, start applying for internships. You will get paid internships. You will get, even if it is paid internships or paying you very low, the experience that you get there will be very good. To to land any internship or job, you just have to do two things. This is what I have done in my personal life as well, and this is what I suggest everyone, is create small projects, create proof of work that you can show to anyone. And it need not be perfect. It might be very small crappy game that you have created which is not even working 100%. That is fine. Create it, post it online, post it somewhere, have a set of projects to showcase to someone when you're applying to any internships or jobs. And if you reach out to companies which are smaller in size, and they are requiring any Unreal developer or Unity developer, then they'll definitely take you on the basis of projects that you create. Eventually, even if you want to shift jobs after you getting first job, you will still have to be showcasing your projects, what you have worked on, what things you really have implemented in a bigger project as well. So projects is the key. If you want to apply for internships or jobs, projects is the key. Go for projects, create small projects. It need not be perfect at all. It need not be even very polished, but still go for it, create it and publish it somewhere, and use that to showcase it to other people. Now let's talk about, this is about game dev. Let's talk about where the future is, and should you really be pursuing game dev? Because say suppose you're pursuing some field and there's no future to it, what would you do, right? Eventually the field will die down, and eventually you will feel that I have made a wrong choice in my life. So that should not happen. That is why I want to show you what is happening in game development, what is the future, what is the metaverse, and how all of these are just hyped up terms of game development and how we can connect the dots. Okay, so let's first talk about what is metaverse and how it is related to game dev. You might have seen many videos. I'm pretty sure that you might have seen the game development videos from or metaverse videos from going online. You might have read articles on that. You might have seen a couple of demos here and there related to AR and VR. So ultimately, let me tell you, metaverse always existed. It is just that people want to reimagine it in a different form. A metaverse is a social experience, and hear me out. Metaverse is a social experience in a virtual world. Okay, now you are playing PUBG. You are in a virtual world. You are playing as a character and shooting other people. That is metaverse because you're spending time with other people, right? So that is metaverse, to break it down. So metaverse is just a fancy new term for social VR experiences. But I'll tell you how the blocks are getting connected and what are new things are getting added in the metaverse as well. Okay, so you need not be afraid of this word metaverse. It is related to game dev. The technologies used are exactly same. Unity, Unreal Engine are used to create metaverse experiences. On top of that, if you have some programming knowledge on web front, then that can also be brought to metaverse to develop experiences for metaverse. Okay, so that's about metaverse, and you need not worry. It's just game development on steroids. You can think about it like that. Now, let's first see what are the possibilities of metaverse, and tell me if you are able to hear the audio.
Some people say the metaverse
Are you able to hear the audio? Yeah, okay.
will only be virtual. But one day, this lecture hall will be made of code. And though they're virtual students, what they'll learn together is real. A surgeon will be able to practice as many times as needed in the metaverse before laying her hands on a real patient. Being able to explore a spacecraft is one thing, but the metaverse will let us go farther than any rocket can take us. In the future, students will be able to take a field trip to ancient Rome, and young artists can learn from a masterpiece. Farmers will one day use augmented reality to help ensure the best yields. And urban planners will be able to model traffic solutions to help decrease commute times. So while the metaverse may be virtual, the impact will be real.
Now you have probably heard of this, that
Some
Meta
people say
is,
the metaverse will only.
you have heard about Metaverse from the company Meta itself. They are pushing the boundaries of Metaverse, and there are multiple companies who are pushing the boundaries of Metaverse. If we have time, I'll show you very realistic demos that are there out there, but depends on time. But this is just a small video telling you what lies in front of us. All of these existing technologies, and people are constantly innovating. People are putting billions of dollars behind this technology to make it more realistic, to make it more connected to how we are interacting with people. For example, as of now, we interact through a two-dimensional media, right? We can watch everything on our phone. We can see what our friends are doing. We can see what they are sharing, where they have been on Instagram, on Facebook, and everywhere, right? But that is limited to just two dimensions. You can just watch it on 2D. You cannot be in that experiencing with them. That is what the future of metaverse is. That is what the future of game development is. People want to create experiences where now you break the boundaries of devices, and you virtually at least try to be with them while you are experiencing something. For example, here you might have seen students are sitting in a classroom and they are studying some virtual objects, right? Now it can be anything. Say suppose you are a mechanical engineer and you want to study the functioning of IC engines, and to study that, to visualize it through a video or through a presentation, is it's very difficult. But say suppose you have an the actual model of engine in front of your eyes, a virtual model, and you can see where the fuel is coming from, how the how the engine is running. Then you get real sense of actually doing it and experience and understanding it better. And you don't have to do it alone. You can team up with virtual friends that you have, and then you can see that experience. So that is the entire idea of metaverse.
Some people say the metaverse.
Okay, so let's talk about technologies that are affecting metaverse. First one is obviously AR and VR. You might have seen many videos from coming from, out from Facebook as well. They released their recent new headset Quest, and this is the upgraded version of this headset that I'm having. So they have released just a new headset, and let's just talk for a minute about AR and VR. Okay, now, what is VR, what is AR, and what is XR? XR stands for, XR is an umbrella term. X can stand for anything. It can be virtual, V for virtual, A for augmented, and X stands for anything. It can be replaced with mixed reality as well. So in virtual reality, what happens is you are entering into a new world where you can do or play different games or experiences. You can experience different stuff. You can study there, or you can do all of that. AR, on the other hand, is bringing virtual stuff to your real life. Now you're not going into a virtual world, but you are bringing that stuff into real life. That is what is AR. You are imposing virtual objects in AR. So this is just a short demo. I'll really skim through it. What VR is, and let's not play the sound. So once you wear a VR headset, I'll show you the demo as well. You enter into a virtual world. That is VR. You have your hands, you can operate everything, and you can play around. Now, none of these things exist in real life, but they are in just in virtual worlds. Now, imagine that the possibilities are endless, because a virtual world need not be something that exists in real life, right? It might have aliens, it might have anything. Your avatar need not be a human avatar. It can be anything. You can be alien. You can be a box walking around. So the possibilities are endless in VR. Same goes for, so as you see, this is a zombie game that person is playing in VR, right? Similarly, you can do various stuff such as walking, like exploring different places on Earth, going through a Google Earth, but in VR. And I'll show you that as well if you have time. You can go fishing as it is shown here. You can fly around, you can play games. So this game, what you particularly see, is called as Population One. It is PUBG, but in VR. So you are actually inside that world. where you're shooting your friends and you're trying to win in the battle of 50 or 100 people. That is what is happening here. Right now, let's go through the next experience. That is, what is AR? Basically, AR as of now is just that, as of now, and I'm saying with the devices that we have, all of us have, that is our smartphones, is like uh, replicating something virtual in real life. So suppose you might have played Pokemon Go. That is a very good example of AR. You are trying to implement something virtual but in real life. But what is true future of AR? Let's watch it through this.
Feel the same way.
Okay, why don't you input the data and we'll take a look together. Hey Mari, what you got for me?
To find those who share our views, yet offer different perspectives.
So this minute. Look over here.
Challenge us with new ways of seeing. Deepen our understanding. And enrich our lives.
最后一笔的时候，往前
Great things happen when we commit to something bigger than ourselves.
Take a closer look at it.
Place this here. Let's see how we go from there, okay?
This sense of collaboration and the feelings of connection it brings excites us.
Hey, just in time. I'm gonna move it slightly, okay?
It's yours, take it.
We have two planes right now on the same trajectory.
As we put people first, technology fades into the background and feels like anything but.
Asia, what do you think?
Head for 30, maintain 2800. We'll be clear for approach.
This changes the way we see the world, and in turn, changes the world we see.
These numbers are looking great, actually.
There's promise in the possibilities, and what we see and create next will stretch the imagination.
Morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Slowly coming towards the top.
A world without boundaries,
Good job. A lot better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Slowly bring
a
it
world where technology enhances, not limits, humanity. With people front, center, and in the spotlight. The future is here, and here can be anywhere.
So you get the idea, right? We are trying to implement something which is virtual in real life, and that too can be collaborative. That too, we can have multiple friends of yours who are sitting in different cities across the world, and they are coming together to interact with something or to build something or to brainstorm something. That is what the true future of AR is. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about AI. Say suppose you don't want to actually be someone playing with Unreal Engine or Unity to become a game developer. You can be a person writing code for AI, and still AI is some sort of technology which will affect everything that we do. In terms of game development as well, it will be a massive game changer. And fun fact is that 90% of the images that I've used in this presentation are not real. They are they do not exist in real life. I have generated them by AI. You might have heard about the tool called as DALI 2. I've used DALI 2 to create all the images. For example, all these images right here are, none of them are real. None of them ever was drawn by a person. They are created by AI. They do not exist in real life, and you will not be able to find copies of this anywhere. These are created by an AI. So talking about AI is some sort of technology which will be used as the improvisation layer for everything that you do. In terms of, for example, image, I would go and search images on Google search, and I'll have to specifically look if someone has drawn image which I require, right? But what I've done now is just told AI that I want this particular image, and it has given me that particular image very close to my expectations, and I've directly used that. So AI is replacing many things that we are doing. One thing that AI is going to affect for sure is, and how that is related to game development, is, for example, improvisation of the VR world. When we talked about level designer, where you can design a level, where objects are supposed to be placed, that can now be generated by AI. That can be entirely done by AI. So as your job to create games, it becomes easier and easier, because some of your jobs will be automated by AI. Hopefully, if everything is automated by AI, we are out of jobs. But let's leave that for some other day. The most important part is how we can use AI for our benefit. AI makes it easier and easier for us to implement stuff in game development world as well. For example, whenever you create an asset, say suppose I have to create this power bank, I have this power bank. Now, the usual way, and you might have tried different softwares, is to go and design and model this in Blender or Maya, and you create a model of this. If you are related to mechanical engineering, you might have used SolidWorks, Katia, or other softwares like that, and you might have designed this particular objects or the instruments in SolidWorks and Maya, and that is very similar to designing assets for game development as well. So suppose I have to create this power bank. Now I make a model of this. Now the second most important thing for me is to create a texture on this, that how the, like, I've designed the shape of the model in Maya or Blender. Now I need to wrap it with a texture. That texture can be used, it can be generated by tools such as DALI. Just like I use to create images for this presentation, you can use to create textures for the game designs, game assets in that. You can use AI to create music for your game, entire game, or where, or the sound effects that you say. Suppose you have a sound effect of shooting a bullet from a gun, that can be created by an AI. And AI is also used to enhance the animation and body tracking of AR and VR field. So let's just quickly see what uh, DALI is. DALI allows you to create images.
2 is a new AI system. Have you ever seen a polar bear playing bass? Or a robot painted like a Picasso? Didn't think so. DALI 2 is a new AI system from OpenAI that can take simple text descriptions like a koala dunking a basketball and turn them into photorealistic images that have never existed before. DALI 2 can also realistically edit and retouch photos. Based on a simple natural language description, it can fill in or replace part of an image with AI-generated imagery that blends seamlessly with the original. It's called in-painting. In January 2021, OpenAI introduced DALI, a system that could generate images from text, like this avocado armchair. DALI 2 takes the technology even further with higher resolution, greater comprehension, and new capabilities, like in painting. It can even start with an image as an input and create variations with different angles and styles. DALI was created by training a neural network on images and their text descriptions. Through deep learning, it not only understands individual objects, like koala bears and motorcycles, but learns from relationships between objects. And when you ask DALI for an image of a koala bear riding a motorcycle, it knows how to create that or anything else with a relationship to another object or action. The DALI research has 3 main outcomes. First, it can help people express themselves visually in ways they may not have been able to before.
Now you get the idea, right? These images, they do not exist in real life. Mona Lisa with a horn does not exist in real life, but AI can create that. That is the power of AI. It can create things which you can imagine and do not exist in real world. And that is what Metaverse is about. Metaverse is not about replicating your real life into a virtual world. It is about creating something very unique, and AI can help you with that. Now let's see how AI is being used to enhance the body tracking. I'll show you hand tracking as well. I don't know if we have time. We just have 10 minutes left. Let me know if we can extend this for a couple of minutes. I'll show you really cool experiences. Okay. And so look around this. Now, in terms of what, I'll just explain the context behind this. Okay. So the person is wearing a headset just similar to this, exactly this Oculus Quest 2, and they are holding controllers in the hand. Okay, these are the controllers. You can see this. I'll show you the demo as well. Now, these controllers, they track your hand position relative to your headset, and you can see your hands moving inside the headset. Okay, that is the case. But now, how do you tackle the problem of moving the legs? Because there is no such thing in that headset given for tracking the legs. How do you do that? There comes the AI. With just the input of the position data of this, both of this controller, it can generate the data for legs as well. Now it is not a very well finished product as of now, but I'm just showing you what is the possibility in future. Now look around how effectively the legs are tracked, and imagine there is no system for tracking that. There is no input to the system. It can just get the data of the headset and the controllers. So you get the idea, right? Is like AI is like sand, and AI is like sand when you're building the wall of rocks. It will just go in creeks and improvise it. It will fill the gaps that is not easily achievable by hardware or providing other solutions to it. That is where AI will come in. Now let's
Have you ever seen a polar bear playing?
Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk about fast internet. One thing that limits the current generation of headset is that the processing capabilities. While you're playing the game in your laptop, and some of you might be hardcore gamers who play really AAA quality games such as Call of Duty on your laptop, or Assassin's Creed, or watch uh, many other games such as GTA, right? And you realize that the quality of graphics in your laptop is way higher than the quality of games that you play on your phone, mobile phone. For example, PUBG, it is not as realistic as any other game in AAA quality game would be in your laptop, because your laptop can provide the hardware capabilities to the game, that it can draw the power from your GPU and render more realistic graphics. But how do you do this in terms of VR, AR, and metaverse? Because as we go ahead in this technology, we would want these headsets to get smaller and smaller and smaller, so that it is just like wearing a normal glasses, and it can do everything that this big chunky headset can do. And so we have to reduce the form factor, we have to make it smaller and smaller. At the same time, to make it more realistic, we have to make it powerful enough. So how do we solve multiple of these problems? That is using fast internet. So the first thing as of now these headsets are doing is that they are processing everything in those headsets. Even your mobile phone, when you play PUBG, it is using the processor of your mobile phone to process that data, to process the graphics of it. But what if we can use cloud to process the data and just stream the games into your system, stream the games in your VR headsets or in your mobile phones or in your laptops? You might have heard about something called as Google Stadia. What Google Stadia does is, I think it is closed right now by Google, but a very interesting project. And what it does is that all the major computation, the graphic heavy computation, the multiplayer processing, and the management of the servers is entirely taken care in the cloud. The only thing that you see is the rendering of the game in your system. So even if you have the slowest running laptop, but it can run a web browser, you'll just have to open, just as you watch a video, you stream a video, you will be able to stream the games as well. Whenever you click something on your keyboard, that input will be registered on the server, and server will process it and give it back to your system, and you will be just able to play. So all the major computing is happening on the servers, but you are just experiencing it through any of your device. So even if your device is very small in size and it does not have very high end processing capacities, but it is having good enough processing capacity to connect to a cloud, then it can directly stream VR and AR experiences which are very high fidelity, just like playing very AAA high quality games. The next thing that will enhance this is faster internet. As we get 5G enabled, and probably hopefully 6G down the line, maybe 5 6 years later down the line, it will drastically improvise the lag time difference between the input that you are giving to your system, the processing happening in the cloud, and the output that is coming back to your system. The more time we reduce, the more reliable we become on cloud, and less reliable we become on our systems that we have. So you can stream any high fidelity experience without having capacity in your device. That is what fast internet will affect and change the metaverse or game development field. Now when I'm talking metaverse, it can be interchangeably used for game development as well, because many of the technologies from game development are going towards metaverse, and many of the technologies or the new implementations that are happening in metaverse are coming back to the games. Okay, let's move ahead. Game engines. Now there is massive improvement happening right as we talk in terms of how game engines are implementing multiple stuff. In terms of Unity and both Unreal, they are implementing massive technologies, and I can show you. I don't know how much time we have, but let's just walk through this two demos. Okay, now if you see, this is not a real life world, right? This is a virtual world created in Unreal Engine, and Unreal Engine is the graphics are getting realistic day by day, and all of this is happening because we have huge computing power right away in our laptops, in our devices that we carry along. And Unreal Engine, what they're doing, their job is to improvise in terms of implementation of it. They are trying to build better capabilities in their game engines so that higher quality graphics can be processed right away without requiring uh, very high quality GPUs or very high quality CPUs in your systems. Now all of this is happening in real time, by the way. There is no processing time, there is nothing such as you have to wait for say suppose 10 minutes for it to get processed. No, everything is happening in real time. That is how engines are innovating on themselves. Now, recently, Unreal Engine 5 was revealed, which is the next gen real time rendering engine by Epic Games. And they are pushing the boundaries of what is possible in AAA quality games, or what is possible in terms of game development fields as well. Many of the companies that you might have heard, such as GTA creating San Andreas, or GTA 5, or you might have heard about Assassin's Creed, or you might have about CD Project Red. They have their own engines, and then they create games in their own engines. But because of Unreal 5 pushing the boundaries of what game engines are capable of, majority of these gaming companies are coming back to Unreal engines to create and implement AAA quality games in Unreal Engine. Now, if you see, very high fidelity level of graphics is possible in Unreal Engine, and it is as if it is very realistic. If you remove the character might not be very realistic, but the scenes that you can compose and create in this Unreal Engine is at a very next level. And all of that computing is happening on the software. You need the dependency on the hardware is also getting reduced. So as I said, game engines are also pushing this technology forward. Now let's talk about, if you want to become a game developer, and if you want to see what is possible for you and where should you get started, you should check out these resources. Probably, if you want, take a screenshot of this. You can just YouTube this, and you will see really good resources, really good beginner level videos as well. And if you get good at the beginner level stuff, then this will also help you to uh, get to the intermediate level and advanced level as well. These are really good resources. You can try all of this. One thing that you should be developing right early on in terms of your development journey, or whatever, whenever you start, try reading the documentation. Even if you are a level designer, you will need to read the documentation of these game engines or of these technologies that you are using. Try develop the habit of reading documentations, as well as reading the tutorial blogs which are created by different creators on the internet. This will help you to really read something which is not easily available on internet. Many of times it might happen that the YouTube explanation of something might not be really good, but the documentation that is created by Unreal and Unity might be really good. So please start reading documentation of various stuff, whatever you're creating. Even if you're a web developer, try to learn it from documentation, because this skill will take you really long. When you're working on industries there, and you're working, say suppose, on a very big project, you will have no one to tell you and guide you that how the systems are working, but they'll have documentation in place. Everything that they have developed or created, they'll have documentation for that. You should develop the skill to read the documentation and improvise on that. Okay, if you want my help in terms of asking any questions or reaching out to me anywhere, say suppose you have particular questions related to game development or any other technology as well, because I try to play along with many technologies, you can reach out to me on Twitter. You can visit my, yeah, I'll answer the questions as well. We'll have the Q&A round. You can drop the questions. I'll walk you through everything. And you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Okay, so you can reach out to me on all of these channels, and I'll be helping you whenever I find time. You can just drop me message. Don't expect a very early reply. I might take my time to reply you, but I'll reply for sure. So you can connect on both any of this platform. Then if you, I can show you the VR demo and we can take questions. If we have time, please tell me, can I show you a VR demo? I have many video. I can go hours and hours and talking about this entire concept, and I can show you many different stuff. But do we have time for VR demo, and do we have time for questions? Yes. Okay. So I'll show you the VR demo. Let me just give me a few seconds to connect it, and I'll show you what is possible. So tell me just quickly, write in Q&A or wherever, or is there a option to raise hand? No, right?
No. Q&A chat box has been enabled, so they can write the questions over there.
Where is the chat box? Can I see that?
Right.
Q&A is the chat box, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can type questions there, and I'll drop my credentials as well there. Just for a second, let me stop sharing, and I'll connect, and I'll show you. And also tell me if you are enjoying this so far. I'll show you the demos. Okay, I'll drop the link for my social handles. You can reach out to me there. Okay. Yes. Okay. So now let me just connect the Oculus and show you the big demo. Don't mind me if I look like stupid wearing this headset, but I'll guarantee that you'll enjoy. Okay, let me share the screen. And yes. Okay. So can you see this? Please tell me if you can see this.
Yes, we can see.
Yes. Okay, let me just full screen. Okay. So this is the virtual world. As you see, I'm wearing an headset. I can see everything through that headset. If you want to see, there are lenses in it. You can, there's the screen and you can see that. I'm not really sure how many of you have uh, tried on VR headsets. If you have gone to mall and played VR games, you might have tried this, but I'll show you what is possible exactly. Because in those 10 minutes, you cannot really learn what is possible and what is not possible in VR. I'll show you that. Okay. So first is when I enter a VR world, I can see around. If you can see, I can move my head, and there is a virtual environment that I am into, and I can go and like walk around as well. As of now I'm sitting, but I can walk around as well, and I can also do this. If you see, I'll let me just enable it. Okay, can you see? It is also tracking my hands. Okay, as if I'm moving my hands, and I need not have controllers as well. I can interact with the menu using my hands or use controllers. Anything is possible. There are specific experiences where you need your hands and you can operate stuff and you can experience stuff or play games using just your hands. You need not have controllers as well, right? That is also one use case of AR, sorry, VR and hand tracking. In terms of the technological development, in terms of hand tracking is getting very accurate. As of now, you might see once I cross my fingers, it starts to fizzle out, right? I hope you are able to see this, right? And then uh, so this is also getting improvised day by day, and AI is also helping in that. Because what is currently happening is, if you can see, here are the cameras. I am not able, I'm not sure if you can see this, but here are the cameras on the headset which are tracking my hand, right? And whenever my fingers are overlapping, they're not able to track it properly, and that is why they are not able to fix it. Here comes the AI which will improvise this. It will take input of the data, what is happening, and it will improvise on the hand movements, right? Now let me show you some experience. Let's do that. uh, I'm not really sure how many of you have done this, but let's do this. i'll I'll use the headset and show you something. Okay, now let's do the boxing game. You can see now I'm showing you games, but there are industrial applications as well. Unfortunately, because they are confidential, I cannot show you, but I'll show you what is possible in VR. Okay, so this is a game playing. Now it will open in 360. I think you can see this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. Just a second, it's loading. Yeah. Can you see my hands? Now the hands have been turned into gloves. And if you have seen, there was Unreal Engine logo. This game is being developed in Unreal Engine. As I said, the technology remains same even if you are using AR and VR. The field is same, so you need not worry about it. Now let's go ahead. I'm not really sure if I'll be able to play this while sitting. If you can see, there's my whole body as well. Unnecessary intro. We just want to skip to the demo. Okay, just some demo. I close this. Now if you can see, I am interacting with the menu using the controllers. So you have to imagine that when you are developing for the AR and VR experiences, you do not have like normal interaction. Usually on mobile phone screen, you just have to interact in 2D, but in virtual world you have to interact in 3D, where you have to think of how things will be transposed to the virtual world in 3D as well, because it is not just simple as interacting with the 2D screen. It is adding one more layer of complexity to it. Now it is showing me the controls how I can do this. Hold X and A while swinging. Okay, got it. I can walk ahead while doing this. Interactions are also getting different. The game controls are also getting different. You have to, as a user experience designer, if you are a user experience designer working in VR field, you have to think all of this, that how the user will walk, how the user will control the UI, because this is just not simple as operating a mobile phone app in that, right? I'll just try to play. I can play. I can play the game. I can walk back, I guess. Okay, I can turn around, and as you can see, I can in real life. I don't have to do anything. I can interact with it. It is probably asking me to raise some key. Okay, but you get the point, right? I'll stop this gameplay and we'll go to something else. Tell me, you're understanding this so far?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
This is and you might have probably seen many videos on the internet, but I'll show you what is true possibility in terms of what you can do, in terms of how you can interact with the real world. Uh, this is a really good demo to see how you can interact with stuff. You have to think of all of this. I'll skip through the demo entry part. I'll just directly go to explore. Okay. Now, say suppose you are a game designer, right? You have to think about how the game is designed, how the entire structure of this is designed. I am into a virtual space station and walking around. Now, as a game designer, you have to think, if you are in a space, how will things affect? I cannot normally walk. If I'm moving around, the movement is very slow, if you can see, right? Because the gravity is zero. You have to think about that. If I'm holding something and pushing it back, then I should move forward. As a game designer, you have to think of that. And as a game programmer, you have to implement all of this stuff, that if the user is pushing something back, then they should move away from it because they are in zero space, right? You should be able to hold stuff and operate here and there. Now this is an educational experience, which is sort of to just tell you an experience and make you experience the space station. How is this educational experience? You can point at stuff and see what is it. It is opening a particular module which will tell me what this particular thing is on the space station, right? Now think in terms of a UI designer as well. How you will design this UI, how this UI need not be on any screen. This has to be floating around because I am in space, right? One more way to interact is, how do I interact with objects? How do I point around? How do I use my controllers to point around? So suppose I'm pressing this grab key. This is called as grab key. I hope you're able to see this. This is the grab key, and then I'm able to point around stuff. And if I'm pointing around, then it is telling me what is that particular stuff. It is changing the UI. You have to think all of this. There are multiple people involved in developing this simple experience. Now I'll show you one more thing. See the UI, right? UI is a 2D screen again, but in a virtual world. And then I have to point here and see how I'll go and walk in space, right? So you have to think about all of these minute things as a game developer, game designer, UI UX designer, or asset creator, that how all of these things will work. Now if you see, this is the space and I'm outside the space station walking around and doing the spacewalk. And you have to also think about what will happen if I grab something. Is everything grabbable? That has to be thought by the game designer. That's what I'm saying, that you need not be a developer itself. You can be anyone trying to uh, come into the game development field and contribute here. If I'm pushing here, then if can I grab this? I cannot grab this. I can grab this, right? And I can push this and move forward. So all of these things are the possibilities and challenges in terms of VR. Let's go to the final demo that I want to show you, and it's a interesting one. Now this time I'll not use the controller. I'll try to use my hands, and this experience works best with hands. Okay. Okay. Now see, I'm not using any controllers. I'm just using my hands to track everything, and I'll now I have to think about many complex layers. That how do I interact with UI? How my hands are moving? How the hand tracking is working? right? I'll click on this. I just have to use my finger to point it and press it, and it works, right? Now see, I'm just placing my hands, and I can select any profile and start playing. I'll just quickly go through that. Okay, show me playground. Now show me puzzles. I go back. Now, as you see, hand tracking is not very perfect because this is a very evolving field. I will go back and I'll click on puzzles and I'll select. I'll not waste more time. I'll just quickly go through this. Okay. Now, as you can see, okay, I'll have to change the setting. To change the setting, look at the UI. I cannot just simply have a UI lying around and interacting with that, right? I need to have some kind of interaction. So they have given interaction here. Now I can change the setting as well of how this is done. Leave current level, okay, and I'm sitting, right? So I'm making a sitting position. I'll go back and I'll click on play. And I'll click on playground. Okay, now play. Okay. Now you see I can interact with the virtual world using my hands. Obviously the hand tracking is not very accurate. I need This is sort of a puzzle game where you use your hands to solve different puzzles and go across the level. So I'm trying to switch on the lights. Which one? Okay, that one is the first light. Second light is this one. So I'll try to switch that. Okay, you get the idea. I can use my hands as well to interact with the objects in real world. So I think that is a good enough demo to give you idea of what is happening in VR and how these headsets are being used. Right now, I would really love if you can uh, go and search around this, maybe look up more around this. And I'm pretty sure you are probably aware of what is happening, but not many people in India own these VR headsets. If you can get your hands on a VR headset, try that out before entering into AR and VR space, and try learning more about it. Let's get to the questions. Okay, so first question is, what are softwares used for creating 2D assets? So 2D assets are usually something we call as sprites. Those 2D assets are used, like created using Photoshop majorly. You can use any other tool to create PNG images, and that can be directly implemented in the games as well. So that I think that answers the how to create 2D softwares. Sorry, 2D assets. Then second is, what kind of projects do you recommend to get started with game development? Create any sort of small projects which will give you confidence to push the boundaries. For example, you can create a small experience where just the character is walking around, or you can create a small 3D game where you just have to shoot random boxes. That can be your game, very simple. Or you can create a simple start with very simple basic stuff, start putting it out, and then let your imagination run wild, google everything and see what you can build. Right, that would be the approach. The first project that I ever built successfully was a mini game that I created as a first person shooter where you use gun to shoot around stuff. That was a very simple experience that I created. Then uh, there's this one more question. Elon Musk doesn't find the idea of metaverse compelling and thinks that bulky headsets being pushed by Mark Zuckerberg. Very true. There is the division in terms of opinion of what metaverse can be. As you, if you're following the stock price of Meta, it has been falling very drastically. People are like some people are very bearish on what is going to happen in metaverse, and if metaverse are going to get implemented, executed properly. And some people are very bullish. Personally, I'm on the bullish side because I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I have seen where this field has grown just within 2 years or 3 years. Right, just before a year ago, this hand tracking was not possible. But someone coming up with a solution that you can hand track with the existing cameras on your headset and do that and execute that within a year is very fast in terms of technological progress. If you see Quest Pro, sorry, that headset is again pushing the boundaries in terms of what is possible in terms of both VR and AR. It is a mixed reality headset which can be used. And I have been personally developing all of these experiences, and I truly feel that the future is bright. Obviously, it is very hard to imagine what exactly future will look like, because just you might have seen the I'll show you one video where it will clear your doubts. You might have heard that in 2000s people were really skeptical about internet, that what internet can actually do, right? So, and so many people were like internet will not work and this will not happen, and why we need internet at all. But soon people started realizing that there are endless possibilities on internet, right? If someone would have not pushed the boundaries of internet back then, we would not have been sitting here on a video call and me telling about metaverse, where metaverse is still being doubted. So I feel it is, I think there is no need to be very skeptical about it. Things will be implemented in maybe not in what how we are imagining it currently, but it will be implemented in a very good fashion, and maybe something that we are not able to imagine as of now. But future looks very interesting to me. This would be the next computing platform, as I would say. Next computing platform, like big chunky computers were the first computing platforms. Then the form factor got smaller and smaller. We got very compact laptops. Then we got mobile phones, which now are becoming very small and very efficient. Initially, if you see the first phone which was just used for calling, it was a very chunky phone. But right now we have very small devices doing so many stuff right inside our mobile devices. So in terms of the boundaries of the hardware, I think it is yet to be pushed, and there will be many more upgrades coming in terms of hardware and software, and AI will support that, and many other different stuff will support that. So those are my thoughts on what seems to be the future of metaverse. Any more questions, or should I show you one video that I feel would be really telling you where the realistic capabilities of metaverse is going on? I'll just quickly show that. Let me see Wario Hero. This would be the last, I think, Wario Hero trailer. Uh, Now, I would go and check out Vario Aero, Vario as a company as well. VARGO is the spelling, Vario. You can go and check it out. They are creating the most high-end headsets around out there, but they are very expensive and they do not sell to customers directly. They sell it to the enterprises and industries only, and then they have very costly packages as well for that. But these are some really great experiences that are coming up. Can you hear the audio?
Our dream is to move beyond a simulated experience to a real experience, where we remove any negative training entirely and recreate the exact feeling and conditions of the most mission-critical scenarios.
For many years, our industry has sort of been reluctant to dive deep into the XR's oceans. The challenge has been to accurately replicate high-pressure environments that are emotionally engaging for the users.
High fidelity is critical for effective mixed reality training for pilots. With the Vario XR3, the realism of the field of view is further increased compared, which removes negative training when recreating conditions of the most mission-critical scenarios.
Vario's new full-frame bionic display, with its wide and natural field of view and its mind-opening human eye resolution, is the perfect key for our extensive design work in XR. The advanced depth sensing and LiDAR should give us the possibility to merge the real and the virtual, enabling a fully immersive experience and natural body-hand object fusion.
Vario has pushed the boundaries of high-resolution mixed reality. By working with Vario, Unity continues to power the next level of photorealism and immersion for industrial design, simulation, training, and more.
Using their own hands and medical equipment takes our healthcare providers to a more immersive emotional state, achieving a higher level of focus that could ultimately save lives.
Unreal Engine coupled with Vario Access has allowed users to power some of the most demanding use cases of immersive technology. The new XR3 and VR3 allows creators to explore the next frontier of immersion using the unprecedented level of visual performance.
Okay, one more thing I think. Okay, look at this.
Plays the background behind an actor. Proud to showcase the world's first real-time chroma key compositing on various mixed reality devices, which means that we can control every pixel that the user sees. We can basically reprogram reality in real time.
Traditionally, model making and prototyping is a long and expensive process. Vario's chroma key and mixed reality review those.
To be able to hold processing pipeline.
The trainees can sit and see their real hands overlaid over a synthetic environment. You can use objects from the real world, such as pen and paper. You can sit in a physical cockpit and use real controllers with haptic feedback, but you can fly in a completely simulated environment.
Vario is at a unique position to lead the industry because we are already shipping a very high-performance, low-latency integrated camera system in XR1 that no one else has.
So you get the idea, right? In terms of the realistic possibilities, how different companies are pushing the boundaries. Yep. One more question is, could you show us few of your very first projects? Unfortunately, I don't have my very first few projects because uh, that was a very old laptop. Shifted to a different laptop. Let me. No, I don't have that. And unfortunately, no, I don't have my very first projects. So, but they were very simple. They were very crappy. They were not very polished. It was just me randomly trying to do something in Unreal or Unity. So yeah. Any more questions before we wrap this up?
Yeah, and in India especially, there's a lot of fan base for Vishal Gondal, right? Like, is there any other
Sorry, can you repeat?
in India we have a lot of fan base for Vishal Gondal, right? The man who created Spider-Man game first. So, do you have any
Sorry.
inspiration in the game development field? Anyone you look up?
Oh, okay. In terms of that, inspirational.
Yeah.
Not really, because I look up to developers. I am a developer myself, so I even if I tell you names, you might not be knowing them because they are very niche developers, which I follow on Twitter probably, and they are creating really cool experiences. There's one YouTube channel called as Freya. She's a developer and she creates really awesome experiences in terms of Unity. There's this one more channel called as Sebastian Lagu. You can Google that. I've already mentioned that in my presentation as well. Google, YouTube them, find them out, and watch the videos. You will be amazed what they can create, what they are creating. They are very experienced developers, probably 15 years doing the same stuff, but yeah, they are really incredible. Yep. Any more questions? Any more doubts? If you have doubts, even after this talk, you can reach out to me on any of my socials that I've shared already. Yep. So should we wrap this up? Before we, if any of you have any random question related to game development, I can take that up.
I guess we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
I request all the audience to follow Manav on all the social links what he have posted, and thank you, Manav. It's a really wonderful session, and I hope everyone asked your questions.
Yeah.
And if
Before
not,
we go, tell me if this was interesting to you or if this added value. Like all of like whoever is present here, just type a comment out there if this was valuable to you. So now I'll
guys,
know.
please.
I'll improvise otherwise next time. Super interesting. That's very good. Yeah, thank you. Simply super. Thank you. Amazing. Thank you. Tell your friends about this. Tell your friends about this technology. What is happening around. Be updated yourself. Follow interesting LinkedIn channels, so LinkedIn accounts, Twitter accounts, so that you are updated in field like this. I started game dev just 2 months, so I like it. Very interesting, Karthik. You can uh, reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn, because we might be having opportunities in my own company for game developers. We are constantly looking for talent who are, even if you are getting started, we can get you some opportunity to work with us live on some projects. So do reach out, Karthik. Do reach out the way. So I like it the way you teach. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yep.
So I post that box. I request all the audience to fill that form for your survey. Don't forget that. And thank you, Manav. It's a wonderful session.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you so
hope you guys
much.
loved it.
It's very interesting and very knowledgeable. And thanks for everything. It's just superb.
Yeah. If you are in Pune, in case you are in Pune, I live in Pune. I work and operate my company from there. So I've recently quit my job and started working full time for my company. So if you want to experience VR experiences with newest gadgets, we always keep getting them. So if you are in Pune or any chance in Mumbai or nearby, then do hit me up on Twitter or LinkedIn, and we can catch up, and I'll show you more experiences and get you to experience as well.
Thank you, Manav. The session has been incredible and it's quite a lot of informative. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. Okay. So that's it, right? Yeah. So I'll take your leave. Enjoy, guys. Keep enjoying. Uh, keep exploring more. Technology is moving very fast. Trust me. Even I have to learn every day. If I don't learn every day, I know for sure within a month I'll be obsolete. I'll be useless. So keep learning. Reach out to people, and people are very helpful in game development industry. If you just drop a message on their LinkedIn, Twitter, they'll help you out. Not only me, everyone will help you out. Okay. So do reach out. Thank you for this wonderful session. Yeah. Thank you for having me. So bye bye. Okay. See you in a while.
Thanks a lot. Thank you
Thank you.
everyone for joining.